All right, chip of the day. Everybody loves chip of the day. So what do we have? We have an MM5437, and that is not the chip of the day. I want it to be chip of the day, sort of. So this is a digital noise source, but what it is, it's a digital bit generator. Ones and zeros. It outputs a stream of ones and zeros, a serial stream that is completely random. And it uses this shift register idea. This one has a 23-bit shift register, which is quite large. I did a video on the shift register pseudo-random number generators, and I'll try to remember to put a link down below that I did this one. I think this was 14 bits or something like that. I forget how many bits this one is, 14 or 17. Anyway, it had a 555 timer, then it ran a whole bunch of shift registers, and it looped around on itself and created a random bit pattern, okay? Then you can run these through a filter. So you can take those ones and zeros and you can run them through a filter to give you white noise or pink noise and other things like that. So why was this chip developed in the first place? Well, it was developed for synthesizers, really. That's where it was used. Let's see here, applications, musical, rhythm, sound generators, yeah. So it says pseudo-random number generator, but yeah, you'll see these in a lot of synthesizers back in the 80s, I guess, or something like that. And I wanted to get some when I was doing this project, but I couldn't find any, or the ones that I found were just too expensive. I didn't want to spend any money on it. Okay, so we wind up till today, and I found myself wanting a bit pattern generator to do something like this. I was testing an oscilloscope. In fact, I was testing this one. And instead of having a periodic waveform that always repeats exactly, I wanted to test the triggering on a signal that didn't repeat, right? So you can see this one here. We have a random bit pattern here, and it doesn't repeat, and then that makes it harder to trigger on the stuff. So I used this thing, and I said, gee, I really wanted one of those 8-pin devices that did everything for me, right? That would have been nice. Now, I had an idea back in the day, and it's coming true today. And what that is chip of the day, which is an 8-pin device that is outputting random ones and zeros, okay? And it's based off of a microcontroller. This is an ATtiny85. So it's in the Arduino family, and you can use Arduino tools to program this thing, which I've done. So that's what chip of the day is. It's make your own chip of the day. If you can't find one, make one. Let's see all about these chips. They're pretty nice. I've used them for other projects. They're a little bit limited in the amount of storage you have in them and the speed that they operate on. But take a look at it. It is one chip, and that's all you need. It's 8 pins, and you put power and ground on it, and it's doing something. You can make a flasher. You can make all kinds of things with this thing, right? A to Ds, D to As. So it is an ATtiny. And you look at that and you say, well, where's the clock, right? There's got to be a crystal on these Arduinos, right? And no, it's got its own internal clock. In fact, if you look at the AT, what is it, a 389? Is that the, no, an 83? I'm forgetting the part numbers now, a 380. Anyway, the big ones in Arduinos, right? The really, really big ones. They always have a 16 megahertz crystal connected to them. But you don't need to. There's actually fuses in those parts, and you can set those fuses to allow an internal RC oscillator to work, and then you could have a one-chip microcontroller circuit that's just the IC. You don't need anything else from Arduino land. You just need the chip itself. I'll show that in some video maybe in the future, and how you can just have a completely, you can shed yourself of all this Arduino stuff and just do regular in-circuit microcontroller embedded systems and stuff. But anyway, we'll have one of those simple ones today, which is the AT85. I'm talking a lot today, aren't I? Must be caffeinated. So So the problem with these chips is that you have to program them. Well, it's not on an Arduino board. It doesn't have a USB interface. There's no way to talk to it. So how do you get one of these things programmed, okay? Well, if you've looked at an Arduino board, like a, let me see if I can find one here. All right, so here is a Arduino Nano, and it has the USB connector, so you can talk to it USB. But they always supply you with this little 6-pin connector at the back here, and that's for a programmer. You can actually not use the USB. You can program it directly with these pins here. It's a serial interface that you talk to. It's like an SPI interface, okay? Well, you need a programmer. So what does a programmer look like? Well, they come in different shapes and sizes. I'll show you two here. This is a USB, what's it called? A USB ISP, tiny ISP. That's a USB tiny ISP. That's what this board is. I think this is like the first board ever made. And it has a USB connection, so you can hook this up to your computer. And then it has a microcontroller here that talks to the USB, and then it has the code to do programming. And then you have this cable. So you take your cable here, and you stick it on your Nano, and then you can program it this way, okay? And when you're in the Arduino development environment, instead of saying download with the button, you can go in the menu and say download using programmer, and then it'll talk to this device, and it will download the code that way, okay? That was one of these. You'll see other ones. Here's another one. This one is just a small little board. It does exactly the same thing. You put this into your computer, and it does all the conversion, and then the lines to do the programming comes out here. And if you notice this one, it is a 6-pin connector, whereas this one is a 10-pin connector, where this one was a 6-pin connector. Well, look at this board. It has both the 10-pin socket and this 8-pin socket, depending on which one you want to use, okay? I always like the 8-pin ones. If you have something like this, which is a 10-bit device, you can get adapters, and this adapter changes 10 bits to 6 bits, okay? Anyway, that's all about programmers. So we are going to use one of these, okay, to program our ATtiny. And well, how do you connect it? Okay, so you need to have a way to connect these things. I built this. This is just a little board. It has a ZIF socket on it. Okay, so I can put my part in here. Oops, I get pin 1 the correct way around. So I have mine set up so that pin 1 is next to the lever here. You push the lever down, now it's in there. And then right here is the programming header. I can put my programmer on there, and then I'm set to go. And now the lines here are connected up to the right pins on the ATtiny. And you can go online and figure out which line goes where. There's a reset line, a ground line, a 5-volt line, and then 3 lines, which are basically the enable and clock and data type of thing. All right, it's like SPI. I also added on mine, on pin 2 of the device, I put a little resistor with an LED. So if you're not sure your device is working or whether your programming is not working, you can download a Blink program and blink the LED. It's hooked up to pin 2. And you can set up a little Blink program and blink that and say, oh, okay, it's working pretty good. All right. Okay, so like I said, these are real easy to wire up, or just use a breadboard, something like this, and just put the wires on yourself. But if you're going to do it more than once, you probably should build a little thing like this. Okay. All right, let's go and look at the program that was used to create a random bit generator. You'll be surprised of how small of a program it is. Okay, there you go. Chip of the day, an AT Tiny 85 used as a random bit generator.